Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader. The last recap of 2020. So, want to say thank you. I've had an amazing amount of success. Thank you to everybody being part of DTA and even Speed Up. For those of you guys that don't know, if you want to learn how to trade and things like that, DTA, we obviously train people how to trade, and then Speed Up, we give you the opportunity to be able to trade someone else's account after passing a test. Been an amazing run, almost 20 years now in the industry, and I just, at the end of every year, I kind of just reflect. It's traveled around the world, I've done amazing things, and I wouldn't have been able to do it with everybody that was part of DTA, part of Speed Up, everybody that's been part of DTA in the past, and so I just want to say thank you. Monday and Tuesday markets were mixed. We had a situation with the mutant version of the coronavirus that's coming out of the UK. Tuesday, the market hit an all-time high, even though it was mixed. Wednesday, markets were mixed as well. And Thursday, in light holiday trading, because that was Christmas Eve, the 24th, we had a situation where the market did go higher due to the vaccines and the situation with the trade deal that was informally announced between the EU and the UK. And overall, for the week, Dow was up 0.06%. For the year so far, it was up 5.82%. S&P 500 was down 0.17%, while in 2020 it was up 14.62%. And the NASDAQ was up just 0.38%, while for the year it was up 42.71%. Overseas market news, mostly lower in Europe, with the Swiss market being the most negative at 1.07%. Latin America and Canada, mostly negative as well, even though Canada was a positive 0.38%. And in the Africa and the Middle East, Nigeria was up 5.42%, while Egypt was down 1.40%. Far East, the Kospi in South Korea was up 1.25%, while in Indonesia, biggest negative of the markets out there, negative 1.59%. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news, even though for the week when I pulled the numbers, Bitcoin went up to 6.37%. That was at about 24,581. It literally just hit today while I'm recording a new high at over 25,000. Remember, I always said to you, it can go up, it can go down. What I don't like is the whole situation where nobody remembers when the analysts in 2017, I believe, at the end of 2017 or 18, when the market crashed, nobody talks about how when they were predicting 50,000 then, and everybody was taking mortgages out to be able to buy Bitcoin, right? That we conveniently forget that. So what I've always said to you guys is not that it can't go up, it can't go down, but remember, I mentioned to you guys it was going to crash 2 weeks before the crash happened in December a few years ago, and I also told you that it wasn't going to reach 50,000 in 2018, 19, or this year, 2020. Now you can see that it's starting to have a little bit of a motor on it. Not to say that it can't continue going up, but I don't think Bitcoin is going to be the new financial system like all these religious people are saying about Bitcoin. I think it can still go up and down, but just remember, be careful. There's a lot of situations where I personally love the idea behind Bitcoin, but I'm a realist. I don't think the governments and the people who control the world are just going to literally let the system be uncontrolled and decentralized. I believe that we're going to have something along the lines of government coin. We're probably going to have the dollar crash, and then after that, they'll put government coin. If you guys don't remember, the European Central Bank already registered the trademark. They issued a trademark for the digital euro, So another thing, for example, that can happen is a situation with regulation. XRP, Ripple, which was the third largest cryptocurrency in the space, collapsed by 25% after there was a U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission lawsuit that sued Ripple and two of its executives for allegedly sale of unregistered securities. So I think this is the danger. Not that it can't continue going up, right? But there's other markets, for example, I see that to me are a little bit better, more secure, and they're just as volatile. I'll give you one example. Tesla, for example, this year has gone up 676%. Well, as something like the silver miners, for example, which I mostly swing trade now, it went from about $1. My favorite miner went from $1 all the way just hit 470. So you can even see there, it's literally 470%. So not to say that Bitcoin is the best investment, not to say you can't invest in it, but obviously, in my opinion, Bitcoin isn't what people say it's going to be, even though it can still go up and down. And I just think that there's other investments that are a little bit better. Other than that, we had a situation as well where Kevin O'Leary, the famous businessman from Shark Tank, says that Bitcoin is irrelevant to financial markets. This is what he's saying. And it increased risk of regulation, even as the prices goes through 25,000. Now, the reason why we did have the huge surge recently, if you guys don't know, is because we've had a lot of institutional money going into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well. Guggenheim and even companies like Skybridge Capital that have hundreds of millions of dollars are the ones that are actually pumping all the cash into it. Nouriel Roubini, which is I don't know if you guys know him. He's been on CNBC and other TV shows and things like that. He's a famous economics professor at the New York University Stern School of Business. Say that 3 times fast. He even says that currently is being driven by market manipulation. So believe whatever you want. If you guys are trading on Bitcoin, success to you. Other than that, in finance and banking news, Trump called the $900 billion stimulus package a disgrace. They gave an amazing $600 to each American, $1,200 to families, while they were handing out millions of dollars to foreign countries like Egypt, $1.3 billion. There's a $25 million payment to the government of Pakistan for gender studies because they care so much about you and I. So he says he's not going to sign it and that he's going to want $2,000 for each American, $4,000 for each family. People's Bank of China is saying that the country's 4 financial regulators are going to they're going to summon Ant Group, which was the financial affiliate of Alibaba, which, if you guys don't know, Jack Ma, one of the richest people in the world from China. It's think of it like the Amazon of China, the Amazon of Asia. They are starting to investigate that and also Alibaba for, it says here, an antitrust investigation. So it seems like even though he was on the side of the Chinese government, if you guys don't know, in China, the way that it works is they're state-run public-private entities or corporations. So even though China is a quote-unquote communist government, they're actually a capitalist market. They literally run the country like a business, right? So a lot of the companies are connected to the country and the state, and they receive investment in all those things. It's not like the U.S. where we have a division of public and private partnerships. Commodities overall, after 7 weeks of positive gains for oil, they had the worst day in the last 7 weeks on Monday due to the situation on the Mutant UK coronavirus vaccine. We even had news from the CDC saying that Delta Airlines and American Airlines are going to require people traveling from the UK to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of departure. Otherwise, they won't let them board a plane. And this is going to be the new normal, right? I know they have the situation with the vaccines, but as diseases continue to mutate, for example, when you take a flu shot that doesn't work on the next year, what a great business for pharmaceutical companies, right? So they come out with the vaccine for the previous strain, and then the new strain comes out every year. This is the flu even, and this happens with all diseases. So now it's happening now with the coronavirus, where there's been a reported, alleged 70% more contagious coronavirus strain out of the UK and also even South Africa. Other than that, the UK has gone down on strict lockdowns again, and that obviously is affecting oil, because if we have the economy shutting down again, people aren't going to travel. They're not going to go out and use their cars and drive. So the U.S. crude went down 1.80% to 48.23 for the year. It's still down 21.09%. International crude, which is called Brent, went down 1.89% to 51.29, and is still down 22.20% for the year. Precious metals didn't have a good week either. Very, very minimal movement. Gold went down 0.12% to 1,879. The all-time high for gold was 2,074 this year. And silver for the week went up 0.15% at $25.88, while the all-time high for silver is at $49.45 back in 1980. That's another thing too. Silver, for example, this year went down, if I'm not mistaken, to about $12. and it went from $12 all the way to almost $30. So you can see it even doubled in the miners, which is what I mostly invest in now. They have a lot more volatility. Other than that, political news, December 22nd at midnight, Israel's parliament failed to pass a budget. They're now going to have their fourth election in 2 years, with the Prime Minister Netanyahu actually facing a serious challenge from the right, who have grown tired of him. He's been in power since 2009. He's also went into power from 96 to 1999, making it Israel's longest serving leader. He's 71 years old now. In economic news, the number of Americans filing first-time unemployment benefits unexpectedly dropped last week. It went down to 803,000 at the end of December 19th. The number from the previous week was 892,000. Even though business activity has been elevated, we still have a situation where in some states like California and New York and Oregon, they are facing a lot more restrictions and even lockdowns as well. U.S. quarter 3 GDP saw the best percentage since they started keeping records in 1947. It was at a 33.4 annualized rate. In quarter 2, when we had the first set of lockdowns, it went down by 31.4%. And now they're expecting a possible contraction in quarter 1 of 2021. And for quarter 4, they're expecting below a 5% annualized rate. The Center for Economics and Business Research also has reported that China may actually take the number 1 lead in the largest economy in the world a lot earlier than expected. They were expecting it to be in 2033. Now they're saying that China is going to overtake the U.S. 5 years from now due to the fact that how the countries are recovering from the coronavirus. China right now is having a growth rate of 5.7%. They're saying from 2021 to 25, while the U.S. is not growing as fast. They're also expecting India to be able to overtake in early 2030s, overtake Japan and Germany as the third largest economy in the world. So they're saying, for example, that it's going to be China, the US, and then India, and that moves Japan and Germany lower as well. One thing that's amazing about the US is that, remember that California on its own is the 5th largest economy in the world. Texas is the 9th largest economy in the world on their own. Can you imagine a country like California, not a country, but a state like California, they have 30, 40 million people, has a bigger economy than a place like India, for example. And obviously these numbers are going to change. India right now, I'm sure they're right in line with California. But even a country like Brazil, for example, that's 230 million people, a state like California, that just kind of shows you capitalism. It shows you how that really is the best form of, let's say, a way to be able to spread wealth for everybody, not just the people at the top, which is actually what happens in Brazil because they've been voting for the left and socialists for quite a while. Other than that, in trade news, we have a situation as well that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it's upended the normal trade flows. If you guys don't know, the majority of goods in the world are actually transported through ships, those really large container ships. And now they have bottlenecks in a lot of places like factories and seaports due to the fact that containers are actually in all the wrong places. So they're saying that this can actually disrupt even more the trade between countries because a lot of these containers are in different places where they're supposed to be. Japan is also in technology stating that they're going to eliminate gas-powered vehicles in about 15 years. They also want to have an ambitious pledge to be able to go carbon-free by 2050 and generate nearly $2 trillion in growth in green business and investment. I'm all for going green. Just keep in mind, there's one thing that Elon Musk said, which I found fascinating. He says, it'd be better for us to all drive electric cars due to the fact that the efficiency of burning oil in a factory, in a big machine, for example, is a lot more efficient. There's less loss of energy than in an actual internal combustion engine. So that's actually, that's something really interesting. You guys should really watch all the really long Q&As with Elon Musk. The guy's a genius. There's an autonomous delivery startup called Nuro, which received the first approval from the California Department of Motor Vehicles ahead of Amazon, Google, and even General Motors. They received legal authority to be able to offer deliveries through the fully autonomous vehicles. They're going to start with small commercially available vehicles filtered with driverless technology. In investment news, after the COVID bill was passed in Congress, even though Trump said that he wasn't going to sign it, United and American Airlines are planning on bringing back thousands of people that were furloughed during the pandemic. They said they're going to be able to set aside that $15 billion that's going to go to airlines to bring back over 32,000 employees that were that were furloughed in September. Apple is placing the second major supplier of theirs in India on probation after they did an independent audit of the reason why there were workers that were actually vandalizing the factory. And it turns out that this supplier actually was not paying their workers on time. They held their payments in the months of, I believe it was October, and also, I have it right here, give me 1 second. It was October and November. Other than that, in 2021, even though, I don't know if you guys remember, for some of you that have been following me for a while, even though they banned the DTA page, I had that up when I was uploading these videos. I always told you guys that everybody talks about Brexit like it was the end of the world. And I did tell you guys that I did believe that they were going to vote to be able to come independent, to get out of the Eurozone. Well, UK now, the GDP is going to be reported to it's forecasted to be 23% higher than France's by 2035, helped by mostly, they say, the digital economy. And that again shows you the difference, for example, between capitalism and socialism, where France is much more socialistic than the UK. That's another example, for example. Other than that, in international events at the beginning of the week, the UK, as I mentioned to you guys before, exposed there was reports, let's say, about the mutant coronavirus, so they are on full lockdown. Due to the growing number of COVID-19 infections in Brazil, Argentina is also limiting the Brazilian tourists to Argentina as well until January 8th. They said that it might extend it if the situation continues in Brazil. And in Russia, the total number of cases in the coronavirus infections crossed the 3 million mark for the first time on Saturday. I don't know if you guys saw, it's actually in Antarctica now. And whatever you feel about the situation with COVID, one of the numbers, for example, from the CDC say that if you're under, I believe the number was 45 years old and you don't have any comorbidities, or for example, if you're not suffering from other diseases or other infections or things like that, you literally have a 99.98% chance of surviving. So, whatever, take the precautions that you guys think that you need to take. Protect elderly people or people that have other diseases and things like that. But if it's gotten to the president of the United States, it's gotten to Antarctica, that means that we're all going to get it. So I just wanted to mention that, because how is it possible that it gets to Antarctica of all places, right? And there was the an apparent bomb on the streets in Nashville that the police are saying was intentional. One of the really weird things that I saw was that there was an audio before the blast saying that everybody in the area should evacuate before the actual bomb went off. So if any of you guys are in Nashville, Tennessee, my heart goes out to you. And just be careful out there, guys, because 2020 has been a little bit crazy, and I think it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. In unusual facts this week, CEO of Germany's BioNTech, Ugur Sahin, which partnered with Pfizer to be able to develop the coronavirus vaccine. He says that in less than a year, the virus could be still causing outbreaks 10 years from now. And he also said that get used to being more outbreaks. It's a great business for the pharmaceuticals, right? They develop a vaccine, you go, you pay for it, you inject yourself, and then it doesn't work anymore with the new strain that comes out next year. So you got to go and pay for another vaccine. It's like endless revenue for these companies. Other than that, for the first time since last year's devastating fire, the Notre Dame for the first time since that fire, had people singing at a Christmas Eve concert. If you guys haven't been to France, remember that United States citizens can't even go to France right now. We can't go to Europe still because of the COVID restrictions. But if you do have a chance to go, because I think this kind of stuff is going to happen more repeatedly, go and check it out because it's absolutely beautiful. And Tesla's CEO Elon Musk is claiming that he attempted to sell 10% of the company to Apple CEO Tim Cook, to Apple to buy the company, but they refused to take the meeting. There's been no comment from Apple in regards to the situation. Remember, Apple is developing their own vehicle as well. And archaeologists in Pompeii have made an extraordinary find of a frescoed hot food and drink shop. There's a, if you guys don't know about the situation in Pompeii, basically there was a volcano that exploded. It dumped all the ash and lava on the city of Pompeii, and it literally froze it in time. And so there's parts of the city that they're excavating that isn't open to tourists yet, and they actually found an ancient equivalent of street food for Romans, which is pretty cool. It's known as Thermopolium, Latin for hot drinks counter. And it's not open to the public yet, but again, when you guys have the ability to go to Italy, I highly recommend it. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you next week.